Hey guys, Dane from Scoggin-Dickey Parts Center, and we're back in the lab. So behind me, you've probably seen this a few times already before, but this is Gordon's Scat Pack. This project has come a long way, and we've gotten to the point now where we need to trim the fat a little bit. So this is going to be a build series that we're going to be changing out a few different components, starting off with some internal work, some suspension work, as well as the brakes. There's a few other things here and there that we're also going to be making some changes to as well, but the end goal is to be able to drop the weight of the lead sled. So this is already on the scales. We're going to get a baseline weight for what we have here, and we're going to move on, make some changes to, as far as like for this segment, we're actually just going to do some interior work and replace the seats that we have here. These are beefy seats. We're going to go ahead and replace these with a set of Pro Car seats, so that way we're going to see the difference in weight between the factory versus an aftermarket setup. Later on, for our next segments down the road, we're going to be doing some changes to brakes as well as suspension work. So that's going to be, one, the goal is to drop the weight, as well as remove some pliance in the suspension, especially on the rear end of this car. So whenever it comes down to weight reduction, especially for you guys that run in the quarter mile, the general rule of thumb is every 100 pounds is good for about 1/10 in the quarter mile. It's usually 10 pounds of rotating mass is good for 1/10. So if you think about it, if you're able to drop 10 pounds of rotating mass off of either your wheel and tire combo or your brakes, all of that is able to, you're going to see the gains almost instantly, especially if you were able to do back-to-back runs in the quarter mile. The other thing to be mindful of is for, you guys that aren't just doing quarter mile stuff, maybe you're doing autocross, maybe you're doing some road course stuff, time attack, doing some long distance road rallies, or just driving in general. Weight is something that you're going to have to carry, especially for anything that's not, gas that you use. All that stuff adds up. So whether it be, under acceleration, under braking, all of that stuff can add time, especially to your lap times. So if I recall correctly, they tested for Formula One, the drivers have a drink bottle in the car. It doesn't get changed out the entire race. And sometimes the drivers will forego having the drink bottle in the car, and it's worth like 50 feet by the end of the race. 50 feet to us, doing a running around or whatever is not really a whole lot. But whenever it comes down to, being in the pinnacle of Formula One, that can be, the difference between you being in first place to 10th nowadays by how close that they run. So we're going to go through. We're going to show the weights on this. We're also going to go over some other important things like center of gravity on this car, because just the way that the weight distribution is done on this car, it still has a cast iron block and a big supercharger, so there's a lot of weight right here in the nose. So a lot of that is we're going to try and change the weight balance on this car to shift it back a little bit to help with a little bit of weight transfer, because once again, this is a big car. But the principle is the same, whether you're doing it in a 4,500, 5,000 pound car, all the way down to a little Miata that weighs as much as a postage stamp. So we're going to go ahead and start getting into this. We'll show the weights on it, and we're going to start swapping out the interior, and we'll do some weights as we go along with that. Okay, so like I said, we've got the car on the scales already. The scales are actually under all 4 tires, and it's actually really sensitive. Like just right now, if I put my hand on this, it's really cool. I mean, honestly, this is neat, because the current weight is 4,544 pounds, and then it's like I can just sit here and just make it go to 4,550 if I wanted to. So really, this is neat because this scale also shows your weight balance. So on the front end of this car, it's actually a 55.46% as far as the weight balance towards the nose. So this is cool because the front left, the driver's side front, is 1,263 pounds. The passenger front is 1,257 pounds, and then on the rear, on the driver's side rear is 992 pounds, and on the passenger rear is 1,032 pounds. So you can really do some fun things as far as like adjusting the balance on the car, especially say if you have coilovers. You can do something that's called corner balancing, which is where you adjust the weight balance of the car based upon static ride height and everything. But this car doesn't currently have that. We're going to be working with a lot of the OEM components, but we're also going to be doing some things in another video where we're going to be installing some control arms from AAD Performance for the rear. They look freaking great. So I want you guys to make sure that you stay tuned and, you know, keep an eye on that video whenever we drop it. But the goal right now is to drop the main part of the weight out of the interior. So like I said, it weighs 4,544 pounds, and we're going to take the seats out from this interior. We want to see where the balance also changes, because this is everything that happens in front of what is supposed to be our instant center. So once again, we're going to go ahead and start pulling everything out, and we'll come back to this guy right here and see what we've dropped as far as the weights. Heavy. What did you, woo! Twist out. Woo! All right, so while Gordon does all the heavy work, I'm back here messing around. We actually are also going to be doing a harness bar install. So this is just one piece of a few extra pieces that we're going to be putting into the car. This is actually a harness bar by AAD, and this is a nice component. Coming from 4th Gen F bodies and everything else like that, there are very, very few people that did harness bar selections or offerings, and some of them were really hard to get. So this one is nice. It comes in multiple pieces that you assemble loosely. We're actually going through the process of taking out some of the interior panels. You got to take out the B-pillar plastics to be able to access and mount to the seat belt hard points, as well as some of the points down below the back seat. So we're going to go through and do this installation. Gordon has been working hard on getting some of the interior plastics and everything taken out, and we'll get this installed, do it kind of loosely, and then we'll get these seats installed as well. Also wanted to say thank you to the guys at Holley. They did provide these really nice cam lock harnesses from Simpson. This is something that's really, really nice. I've always been a fan of cam locks over the latch link style, just because of the fact that you can actually unlock these in a hurry whenever you're trying to get out of the car. So even say in the unfortunate event that you are upside down, you can actually release these very, very quickly instead of just trying to fumble around with a latch and link setup. So this is nice. Gordon is going to be racing really soon with all this stuff as the season starts to warm back up. So always be mindful whenever you're doing this that you're also going to be making sure that everything stays within certification for your safety, because if it takes too long, you do have to get that stuff recertified. So we're going to crack back into it. We're going to put this harness bar in, and then we'll get the seats in. We finished up with getting the harness bar in, It looks really freaking cool. So like I said, this is an AAD performance harness bar. There's some minor changes that happen between the way that it works with a Charger versus Challenger, just a little bit. The holes on this one we needed to open up a little bit, so Gordon made some magical metal chips happen in here, and we got all that taken care of and installed and torqued down. So one thing that I wanted to make sure about, let me flip this around so I can see as well. These are the loops that you have for your harness. Okay, so a lot of times you're going to have people that will either put the harness in between here or whatever across it. You're not supposed to do that. The harness is supposed to go through here. A lot of times what you do is you take it from here and then it goes down to a hard point to mount either to an existing bar or a hard point in the back down here. You can also, depending upon the style of shoulder belts, you can wrap it around this. So make sure that you pay attention to the installation instructions for these, as well as the rules for your sanctioning body that you're going to be racing in. Because some of the guys don't like it how you mount it differently. Also, the other thing is the harness bar is important because it makes the harness go over your shoulders at a safe angle. If you just are running that seat right here, yeah, I can see myself better now. If you're running that seat with the harness through the shoulder holes there and then just directly down to a mounting point on the floor or behind you in the back seat, you actually run the extreme risk of having yourself undergo spinal compression in an accident. So what happens with that is the harness goes over your shoulders, and when it's pulling at a downward angle like this away from you, it pulls down and it pushes you down into the seat. You don't have anywhere to go because these are not elastic style seat belts like a DOT seat belt. There's no give. So when it pulls, it's going to squish you down and it is going to cause severe spinal damage. And it happens. It has happened multiple times in different racing events where, you know, they don't have as much of the safety inspections. So really, once again, pay attention to the installation instructions for this, as well as the rules for your sanctioning body, and also just be smart about it, because you know, you might have some rules or some instructions from some of these guys, and sometimes they might misinterpret some of the rules for whatever group that you're in. But really, you know, be smart about it. Don't half-ass it. Don't just take the harnesses and then run it in the seat and call it good, because you're going to be putting yourself at risk, and then, you know, not just hurting yourself, but your friends, family, and everything else like that, as well as it's going to make it hard for the, you know, whatever sanctioning body that you're racing in, for those rules, as well as the tracks. It hurts the tracks too. So anyway, I'm going to get off my soapbox. We've got seats to install, as well as the harnesses and everything else, and we're just going to go ahead and jump right into that now. Okay, so we've got the seats, the harnesses, and the harness bar installed on the car now, and we also have it back on the scales. So I'm gonna have to switch this around here in a second, but we've already got it on the scales, like I said. So these are really nice. These are the Intercom Easy Way scales. They're under all four corners, and the results are in. So we went through, removed the Scat Pack seats, air conditioned, super comfy, super cozy, as well as removed the back seat. So did that, installed these here along with a harness bar and everything else, as well as the Simpson harnesses. So got the weight. Original weight was 4544, 4,544 pounds. It's kind of dancing around a little bit, but it's 4,502 pounds, and the percentages changed a little bit. It was like 55.4 something, and now it's 55.38. So we've succeeded really in two things. You know, one of the goals was to get the weight balance to shift a little bit more to the back. We've also dropped almost 40 pounds, or just over 40 pounds out of the car. So we still have a few other things that we need to do and work through, including a nice list of stuff over here. So we have this crash bar for the front, the AAD control arms, TBM brakes, and everything else to install. So I'd say this is initially the good part of what we've got taken care of so far for this project. Stay tuned. We're going to go through and take the front end of this car off and put the crash bar on, and then the next video that we release is probably going to be the brakes followed by the control arms, or vice versa, either which way, depending upon what Gordon back there wants to do. So once again, just kind of stay tuned for us, or stick with us while we get this all taken care of. Okay, so Gordon just finished up putting in the AAD front aluminum crash bar, and the results are in. So we're down now to 44.86. So we're dropping some weight a little bit, and the actual the weight balance of the car is actually closer now to 55% front to rear, which is great. So we're making some progress on the overall weight reduction of the car. And let me bump that around. So Gordon still has some work to do on the TBM brakes. He's actually going to work on that and get the actual rotors and the hats and everything assembled, just because they come completely disassembled that way. But he's got to do that installation, and we will go ahead and we're going to finish up this video here for today, and this will be the next segment as far as doing the installation on the TBM brakes on a Charger. So this is actually going to be really cool because, you know, if you see how big and beefy these brakes are, they are massive. I had similar sized rotors on my 4th gen Firebird, and whenever I took the rotors in to get machined to fit the hubs, the machine shop that I took the rotors to, they actually thought that I had brought in rotors for a truck. They're like, man, these are some fancy rotors for a truck. But, you know, there we go. So once again, thanks for stopping by. We'll finish this one up, and make sure that you like, share, subscribe, and keep an eye on our channel for some more content on Lightening the Lead Sled.